Stop me if this sounds familiar. It's 3 a.m., you can't sleep, and you're lying there thinking about how you never asked to be born. Emil Cioran did that every night for years and built an entire philosophy around it. Here's what nobody tells you about consciousness. It's not a gift, it's a life sentence. And this Romanian philosopher spent 84 years documenting exactly why being aware of your own existence is the worst thing that ever happened to you. No sugarcoating, no hope, no way out. Just the raw, unfiltered truth about what it means to be trapped inside your own head. Today, you're going to learn why one of history's most brutal thinkers believed your birth was a mistake, why he valued insomnia over sleep, and why everything you've ever felt at 3 a.m. is more honest than anything you felt during the day. This isn't going to be comfortable, but it's going to be real. Romania, 1911. A priest's son in a quiet mountain village. Everything about Emil Cioran's childhood screamed normal, peaceful, the kind of upbringing that should produce a well-adjusted person. Instead, it produced one of the most uncompromising pessimists who ever lived. And it started when he turned 17 and stopped sleeping. Not for a night, not for a week, for years. Full-blown, night after night, staring at the ceiling while everyone else gets to escape into unconsciousness. Most people would panic, see doctors, try medications. Cioran did something different. He watched. He paid attention to what happened when his mind couldn't turn off, when he was forced to be present for every single second of existence. And what he discovered: sleep isn't West. Sleep is mercy. It's the universe letting you stop being you for a few hours. It's practice for death, the only break you get from consciousness. Take that away and you're left with pure awareness with nowhere to hide. Most people go through life with intermissions. 16 hours of consciousness, 8 hours of nothing. It's manageable. Cioran didn't get that. He was awake for all of it. Day bleeding into night, bleeding into day. No breaks, no relief, just endless awareness stretching on forever. And in those sleepless nights, something became clear, something most people spend their lives running from. Consciousness itself is the problem. Not your job, not your relationships, not the world. The fact that you're aware you exist. That's the wound. That's the curse. And there's no cure because you can't opt out of consciousness while you're alive. You're stuck, trapped inside your own awareness from birth to death. At 22, he wrote his first book, On the Heights of Despair. No careful academic arguments, no building toward hope, just violent honesty about what it feels like to be alive when you're too aware to lie to yourself. Lines like, "I am the beast with a bleeding wound," and "It's not worth killing yourself because you always kill yourself too late." This wasn't philosophy. This was someone screaming truth loud enough that you couldn't ignore it. Romanian intellectuals didn't know what to do with him. Too extreme, too honest. So at 26, he left for Paris and never returned. Paris should have changed him. Culture, beauty, art, all the things that make life worth living. Instead, he doubled down, switched from Romanian to French. Why? French forced precision. Every sentence had to cut. Then he made a choice that reveals everything. He stopped writing traditional books, just fragments, short observations, aphorisms. Because sustained arguments imply life makes sense if you think hard enough. Cioran rejected that. Life doesn't make sense. It's not a puzzle. It's a wound that won't heal. So he wrote in fragments, each one a complete explosion of truth. The trouble with being born, a short history of decay, the temptation to exist. Open any page and get punched with reality. No build-up, every sentence is the conclusion. He lived in a tiny Paris attic for decades, barely any furniture, no job, no family, just reading, writing, walking, existing. And people who met him said he was charming, even funny. That's the thing about true pessimists. They're not depressed. They've accepted everything is screwed. And once you accept that, you stop being disappointed. There's a weird lightness in giving up hope. But don't mistake charm for optimism. Cioran never softened. He just got sharper. When he died in 1995 at 84, he left work that still makes philosophers uncomfortable because he said what they think but won't admit. Here's where Cioran separates from every other philosopher. Most think consciousness is humanity's gift, what makes us special, our achievement. Cioran says that's backwards. Consciousness isn't a gift, it's the original curse. Look at an animal, a dog, a bird. They suffer physical pain, hunger, fear, but they don't lie awake thinking about mortality. They don't question existence. They don't feel the crushing weight of time. They just exist. No voice in their head analyzing everything. Humans, we can't just exist. We have to know we exist, think about our thinking, be aware of our awareness. That extra layer is the problem. That's the curse. Cioran says consciousness is more than a thorn. It's the dagger in the flesh. A thorn is annoying, a dagger is fatal, and you can't remove it without dying. Consciousness isn't something you have, it's what you are. No opting out, no returns, stuck with it until you stop existing. This is why he calls birth a calamity, not because life is hard, but because birth creates a conscious being who has to carry the weight of knowing they exist. You didn't ask to be born, didn't consent to consciousness, but here you are, sentenced to decades of awareness with no parole. What does it mean to be born? To begin to die? From arrival, you're dying, but worse, you know you're dying. Animals die without knowing they're mortal. We die knowing. Every birthday is a countdown, 1 year closer, and you're aware every single day. People try distracting themselves. Work, relationships, travel, drugs, religion, philosophy. Cioran sees through it all. These aren't solutions, they're anesthetics, ways to numb the pain temporarily. They work for a while, but consciousness is always underneath, waiting for the distraction to fade. Existence isn't a problem to solve, it's a condition to endure. The more conscious you are, the heavier the burden. Ignorance is bliss, stupidity is a gift. The less you think, the less you suffer. Smart people, aware people, they carry the heaviest load. Intelligence doesn't free you, it imprisons you in a cage made of your own thoughts. Cioran was proof. Brilliant, spoke multiple languages, read everything, understood philosophy, history, religion better than most experts, and he was miserable. Not because his life was materially bad. He lived in Paris, had friends, had readers, but he was too conscious, couldn't turn it off, couldn't stop thinking about thinking. In The Trouble with Being Born, he writes, "It's not worth killing yourself because you always kill yourself too late. The damage already happened. The moment you were born and became conscious, you were doomed. Suicide wouldn't fix it because you've already suffered the worst part, years of consciousness, years of knowing you exist. The harm is done." This isn't depression. Depression is a mood disorder. It comes and goes. What Cioran describes is structural, built into being conscious in a universe that doesn't care. You can be happy, successful, loved, healthy, and still feel this weight because it's not about circumstances. It's about being aware enough to know you're here and you're going to stop being here. Consciousness evolved as a survival tool. Your brain developed awareness to help ancestors avoid danger, find food, and reproduce. That's it. Not to make you happy, to keep you alive long enough to pass genes. Mission accomplished. Humans are everywhere. But now we're stuck with overdeveloped awareness that goes beyond what we need. We're not just conscious enough to function, we're conscious enough to question why we're functioning, to realize it's pointless. We're too conscious, and there's no going back. Animals have exactly the consciousness they need. Humans have way too much. Aware that we're aware that we're aware, spiraling into infinite regress. And in that spiral, we don't find enlightenment, we find torture. Let's talk about real insomnia, not tossing and turning for an hour. Real insomnia, where you lie in bed for 8, 9, 10 hours completely awake, body exhausted, mind racing, every second crawling by. That kind. Because insomnia strips away the one mercy nature gave you, unconsciousness. Sleep is death's little brother. Every night, healthy people practice not existing. Consciousness shuts off. Time disappears. They stop being themselves and wake up refreshed. Not because anything changed, because they got a break from being aware. Imagine you can't do that. Forced to remain conscious for 24 hours straight. No breaks, no pause, just endless awareness. You feel every second. Trapped inside your head with no escape. And something happens. All the lies you tell yourself during the day fall apart. All distractions stop working. All comfortable stories crumble. You're left with raw truth. Cioran said, "Insomnia is a lucidity that turns paradise into torture. Even if your life is perfect, insomnia makes it unbearable. Not because anything is wrong externally, because you're too aware. You see through everything. The meaning you constructed, the purpose you invented, the hope you manufactured, it dissolves in darkness. You're left staring at the ceiling, fully conscious that you're temporary atoms that will soon stop existing." Most philosophy happens in comfort. Offices, libraries, cafes. Rested, fed, safe. Cioran's philosophy was born at 3 a.m., in the dark, alone, exhausted but unable to sleep. All defenses down. That's why it's brutal. No optimism at 3 a.m., no hope, no meaning, just you and reality staring at each other, and reality wins. He described insomnia as a supreme experience, not because it feels good, because it forces hyper-awareness where you can't lie anymore, can't distract. You're pinned to the present, fully conscious, unable to escape. And in that state, you see existence exactly as it is. No filter, just the raw fact of being alive in a meaningless universe. And it's bleak. Insomnia taught him sleep isn't rest, it's mercy. The universe giving permission to stop existing for hours. When that mercy is taken away, existence becomes unbearable. Not because anything external changed, because you're forced to be present for all of it. No intermission, just consciousness, continuous and unrelenting. People who sleep normally have a rhythm, day and night, wake and sleep. It creates the illusion that time has natural stopping points. Insomniacs don't get that. Day bleeds into night, no distinction, just one long stretch of awareness going on. And that's actually closer to truth. The universe doesn't sleep. Time doesn't pause. Existence doesn't stop. Only your consciousness stops when you sleep. When you can't sleep, you experience existence as it actually is, continuous, relentless, indifferent to your suffering. Insomniacs become philosophers by necessity. When you can't sleep, you think. No choice, your mind won't stop. And thoughts at 3 a.m. are never pleasant. Not about hopes and dreams, about death, meaninglessness, the absurdity of existence. Insomnia strips away shallow thoughts and drags you into the deep, dark ones, the ones you spend all day avoiding. During his worst insomnia, Cioran felt punished for being born. The punishment was awareness, total, uninterrupted awareness, no relief, just consciousness burning like a fever that never breaks. But here's the twist. He also valued it because it taught him truth. Sleep is for people who can still believe in life. Insomniacs have looked too closely. They've seen behind the curtain, can't unsee it. Most want to cure insomnia. Cioran embraced it, not because he enjoyed it, because he saw it as clarity. The insomniac is the most honest person in the room. Can't hide behind comfort. Stared into the void long enough that the void stared back. They know something sleeping people don't. And that knowledge is terrible, but at least it's true. He describes it as being exiled from the world. When everyone sleeps, you're awake. When everyone's refreshed, you're exhausted and raw. You exist on a different plane, living in gaps between normal human experience. And in those gaps, you see things, that nothing matters. You're going to die. Everyone you love will die. Everything you create will be forgotten. The universe is cold and empty and doesn't care if you suffer. Consciousness is an accident that brought pain into a universe doing fine without it. Insomnia is enlightenment without peace. Seeing truth without compensating wisdom. Knowing fully that you're screwed. Can't unknow it, can't go back. Stuck in wakefulness, in awareness, in brutal 3 a.m. clarity forever. In 1973, Cioran published The Trouble with Being Born. Think about that title. Not the trouble with living, the trouble with being born. The problem starts before you do anything, before any choices, before you know what's happening. The problem is that you were born at all, the catastrophe. Everything after is just consequences. The book is fragments, short observations designed to hurt. It's not worth killing yourself because you always kill yourself too late. By the time you're old enough to consider suicide, you've endured years of consciousness. The worst already happened. Killing yourself doesn't undo the damage. You've already suffered being born. Everything after is just serving the sentence. We should repeat every day, I am one of billions dragged across the surface of a ball that revolves around an incandescent sphere, and this is reality. This is what we must never forget. He's destroying your sense of importance. You're not special, not the main character. You're a speck on a rock spinning in space. That's all. And we spend lives constructing elaborate stories to avoid facing that simple fact. Better to be an animal than a man, an insect than an animal, a plant than an insect. Salvation? Whatever diminishes consciousness and compromises its supremacy. This is his hierarchy. It runs opposite to how most people think. Humans at the top? Pinnacle of evolution? No, we're worst off, most conscious. Plants don't question purpose. Insects don't dread death decades before it happens. Only humans are cursed with enough awareness to make existence torture. Salvation isn't becoming more conscious, it's becoming less, moving down the ladder, not up. What do you do from morning to night? I endure myself. Most honest sentence ever written. Most people aren't living, they're enduring themselves, getting through the day, managing the burden of being conscious. Not actively painful most of the time, but not good, just heavy, like carrying a weight that never lightens. From wake to sleep, you're just enduring the fact that you exist. He talks about birth as a fall, not metaphorically, literally. Before birth, you didn't exist, weren't conscious, weren't suffering. You were nothing, the only state of true peace. Then you were born, thrust into existence without permission. Now you're stuck here, aware, suffering, trapped in time, waiting to die to return to nothing. But worse than just suffering, it's awareness of suffering. An animal suffers but doesn't know it's suffering cosmically. Humans suffer and know they're suffering and know they'll continue suffering and know there's no reason and know it's all meaningless. That's the trouble with being born. Born into awareness of suffering, not just suffering itself. Cioran destroys the idea that life is a gift. People say this when guilting you into gratitude, when talking someone out of suicide, when justifying having kids. Life is a gift. No, a gift is something you can refuse. Life isn't a gift, it's an imposition. Your parents decided and you live with the consequences. You didn't vote, didn't consent, you were conscripted into existence. Now you're expected to be grateful? That's not generosity, that's tyranny. To have committed every crime except that of being a father, one of his sharpest lines. He sees procreation as moral crime. When you have a child, you create a new conscious being who will suffer. You impose existence on someone who can't consent. You guarantee another person will endure consciousness, time, aging, death. For what? So you feel fulfilled? Pass on genes? It's selfish. Every parent, no matter how loving, is guilty of creating another sufferer. This ties to antinatalism, the philosophy that says having children is morally wrong. Cioran never used that term, but he's essentially antinatalist. Birth is the original harm. Everything bad traces back to being born. No birth, no suffering. Simple. You can't suffer if you never exist. But once you exist, suffering is inevitable. People push back, but life has good things: joy, love, beauty, meaning. Cioran's response is simple. None of that outweighs the fundamental problem of being conscious in a meaningless universe. Joy is temporary, love ends, beauty fades, meaning is invented to cope. The baseline is suffering and awareness of suffering. Good moments are just distractions from that baseline, brief periods where you forget how heavy existence is. But the weight is always there, waiting, ready to crush you when the distraction ends. Why do we keep going? If existence is suffering, if consciousness is burden, if life has no meaning, why wake up and do it again? Cioran asks this in The Temptation to Exist. The answer is disturbing. We're tempted. Existence has a pull, even when it hurts, even when we see through illusions, even when we know it's meaningless, we're still drawn to continue. Not because it makes sense, because we can't help it.
Think about your life. You know you'll die. You know nothing you do matters in 100 years. You know consciousness is painful and existence is absurd. Yet you keep going. Make breakfast, go to work, make plans, watch shows, fall in love, keep existing even though logically there's no good reason. Why? Because you're tempted. Existence itself is seductive. Being alive creates momentum. You're in the current. Even though you see the waterfall ahead, you keep floating toward it. Cioran calls this the temptation to exist. Not rational, not chosen, a compulsion. Biological, built into your cells. Your body wants to keep going whether your mind agrees or not. Heart keeps beating, lungs keep breathing, brain keeps thinking. All automatic, all pulling you forward into the next moment. And you go along, because what's the alternative? Fighting your own biology every second? That's exhausting. So you give in. Let yourself be tempted. Keep existing. But here's the dark part. The temptation to exist is worse than existence itself. If we could just accept life is meaningless and be done with it, that would be easier, clean, simple. But we can't. We keep getting pulled back, keep finding little reasons to continue. A good meal, a conversation, a sunset, a moment of connection. These tiny things hook us, make us think maybe it's not so bad. Then the moment passes and we're back in the same meaningless existence we were trying to escape. Like being addicted to a drug that's killing you. You know you should stop, you see the damage, but the craving is too strong. Existence is that drug. Every human is an addict, hooked on being, even though being is destroying us. Cioran also talks about nostalgia for non-existence. Before you were born, you didn't exist. Someday, you won't exist again. There's a part of you that remembers the peace of non-existence, longs to return to it, knows deep down that nothingness is the only state where you're truly free from suffering. But you can't get there while alive. You're stuck in between two voids, trying to make sense of the brief, painful flash of consciousness connecting them. He writes about how we wound each other, not intentionally most times, just by existing. Your parents wounded you by bringing you into existence. You wound others by needing them, leaving them, disappointing them. Every relationship is an exchange of wounds. You hurt me, I hurt you, and we call it connection. But underneath, it's just wounded people wounding each other because that's all conscious beings know how to do. Now let's look at some quotes and what they really mean. These aren't clever sayings, they're concentrated truth most people run from. I'm simply an accident. Why take it all so seriously? You're not special. Your parents had sex. You were conceived. You were born. No cosmic purpose, no divine plan. Random atoms that became conscious. We spend lives acting like we matter universally, like our choices are important, like our existence means something beyond our own experience. Stop. You're an accident. Nothing you do matters in the grand scheme. Why the stress? Why the anxiety? You're going to die. Everyone you know will die. Everything you create will be forgotten. Relax. Be the accident you are. The fact that life has no meaning is a reason to live. Moreover, the only one. Seems backwards at first. If nothing matters, why keep going? But think, if life had meaning, you'd be obligated to fulfill it. You'd be a slave to purpose. Spend your life trying to live up to cosmic expectation. But since there's no meaning, you're free. Free to do whatever. Free to create your own reasons. Free to exist without justification. The meaninglessness isn't the prison, it's liberation. You don't owe the universe anything. You're just here. That's enough. Only one thing matters, learning to be the loser. Everyone loses eventually. Death comes for all. Winners are just people who haven't lost yet, but they will. So stop trying to win. Stop fighting the inevitable. Accept defeat. Accept you're going to fail, age, die, be forgotten. Once you accept that, you're free. Stop being afraid. Stop being anxious about losing what you have or not getting what you want. You're already the loser. The game's already over. Now you can finally relax. 3 in the morning, the soul is defeated. Reality triumphs. This is the core of everything. At 3 a.m. when you're alone and awake, all your lies stop working. Your sense of purpose, your identity, your hope for the future, all of it collapses. And reality, cold and harsh and meaningless, wins. This is when you see clearly, when truth reveals itself. And truth is your temporary arrangement of matter that will soon stop existing. That's it. That's all. Everything else is story. A book is a suicide postponed. This is why Cioran wrote, not to communicate, not to become famous, but to delay killing himself. Writing was channeling despair outward instead of inward. Every creative act is this. Every painting, song, poem. Someone saying, I'm in pain, and instead of destroying myself, I'm going to make something. Doesn't solve the pain, but it buys time. Paradise was unendurable, otherwise the first man would have adapted to it. If paradise was actually perfect, Adam would have stayed. But he didn't. He ate the fruit and left. Why? Because even paradise is unbearable when you're conscious. Even perfect conditions become a prison when you're aware enough to see them for what they are. The problem was never the serpent or fruit. The problem was consciousness. Adam was too aware to be happy even in paradise. Chaos is rejecting all you have learned. Chaos is being yourself. Society teaches you how to behave. Parents give you values. Culture gives you beliefs. You spend life trying to live up to external standards. Chaos is throwing all that away, rejecting everything you've been taught, and just existing as you actually are, raw, unfiltered, not performing for anyone. Cioran sees this as freedom, not comfortable, not peaceful, but honest. You stop pretending, stop trying to be who you're supposed to be. You just are. So why does any of this matter? Because Cioran tells you the truth, and truth is rare. Most people lie. Parents, teachers, culture, religion. They tell you life has meaning. Things happen for a reason. It gets better. You're here for a purpose. Maybe those lies help some people. Maybe some can live whole lives believing comfortable stories. But some of us can't. Some sleep awake at 3 a.m. feeling the weight of existence. Some see through distractions and platitudes. Some know deep in their bones that Cioran is right. Consciousness is the wound. Existence is the burden. Life has no inherent meaning. Birth was the catastrophe. And for those people, Cioran is proof they're not crazy, not broken, just seeing clearly. Most people sleepwalk through life, numbed by routine and hope and distraction. But some of us are awake. And being awake hurts. Cioran spent 84 years documenting that pain. His books are evidence that someone else has been there, felt this exact thing, looked at existence without hope's filter, and survived to write about it. He never promises it gets better, never offers hope, never says there's a solution, and that's exactly why he matters. Because he's not selling anything, not trying to fix you, just showing you truth and letting you decide what to do with it. When you accept life as meaningless, you stop being disappointed, stop expecting the universe to make sense, stop waiting for things to get better. You just exist, moment to moment, without justification, without explanation. And in that acceptance, there's a kind of peace, not happiness, not joy, but peace, the peace of knowing truth and no longer fighting it. Cioran shows you're not alone. Every person who stared at the ceiling at 3 a.m. thinking about death is part of the same experience. Every person who's felt consciousness's weight and wondered why they were born understands. You're not the first to feel this, won't be the last. Cioran documented it so clearly that when you read him, you recognize yourself. That recognition matters. Means you're not insane, not defective, just conscious, and consciousness hurts. He destroys the idea you need purpose. You don't. You're not here for a reason. You're just here. Once you accept that, you can stop searching, stop trying to figure out what you're supposed to do. You can just live, moment by moment. Do things because you want to, not because they're meaningful. Read because you enjoy it. Talk to people because you like them. Exist because you're already existing, and stopping is harder than continuing. Since nothing matters objectively, everything matters subjectively. Your experience is all you have, so make it bearable, make it interesting, not because it needs to lead somewhere, but because you're stuck here for now and might as well make the time pass in a way that doesn't completely suck. Cioran lived this way. No job, no family, no grand ambitions, just reading and writing and existing. Was he happy? No. Fulfilled? No. But he was honest and he was free. Free from the burden of purpose, free from the trap of meaning, free to just be without needing to justify it. And that's the lesson. You don't need a reason to exist, don't need to justify your life, don't need to accomplish anything or become anyone or leave a legacy. You're here because you're here. That's it. When you stop fighting that fact, when you stop trying to make it into something more, you can finally breathe. The pain doesn't go away, consciousness still hurts, existence is still heavy, but you're not adding the extra weight of expectation, not torturing yourself with should and supposed to in meaning. You're just here, conscious, aware, suffering, but at least you're honest about it. Cioran never solved the problem of existence. Nobody can. The problem is built into consciousness's structure, but he looked at it clearly, described it accurately, refused to lie about it. And in doing that, he gave everyone else permission to do the same, to stop pretending, to stop lying, to look at existence as it really is and say, this is hard, this is painful, this is meaningless, and I'm going to keep going anyway, because what else is there? That's the brutal truth Cioran spent his life documenting. Consciousness is the wound, existence is the burden, birth was the catastrophe. No escape except death. But in the meantime, you're here, you're awake, you're aware, and you might as well be honest about what that feels like. Not hopeful, not positive, just honest. Cioran died in 1995 at 84, spent final years in silence, health declining, mind sharp but body failing. He never changed his views, never softened, never found peace or meaning or hope, just got older and stopped existing, like everyone does, like everyone will. And his books remain. Little fragments of darkness scattered across pages, proof someone saw truth and wrote it down. Not to help you, not to inspire you, just to document what it's like to be conscious in a universe that doesn't care. For most people, Cioran is too much, too dark, too honest, too willing to say what everyone thinks but nobody admits. But for people who need it, who recognize their own thoughts in his words, his books are proof they're not alone. Someone else has been awake at 3 a.m., felt consciousness's weight, looked at life without illusions, and survived long enough to document it. That someone was Emil Cioran, a man who couldn't sleep, a man who turned insomnia into philosophy, a man who spent 84 years saying what everyone feels, but no one wants to hear. Consciousness is the wound. Everything is suffering, and there's no bandage big enough to cover it. Not because the world is cruel, not because life is unfair, but because being aware in a meaningless universe is fundamentally, structurally, inevitably painful, and no amount of hope or distraction or meaning changes that fact. You can accept it or keep lying to yourself, but the truth is there, waiting, in the darkness, at 3 a.m. when your defenses are gone. And Cioran's voice is there too, saying, I know, I've been there, and there's no way out, but at least you're not insane for seeing it. That's Emil Cioran. That's the philosophy of insomnia. That's why everything is a wound. Now you know. Now you can't unknow it. Welcome to 3 a.m. consciousness. It never ends. If you're still here, still listening, still awake in the dark with these thoughts crawling through your mind, then you already know you're not like everyone else. You see what they refuse to see. You feel what they've learned to numb. You're carrying the weight of consciousness that most people spend their lives pretending doesn't exist. And somewhere in that darkness, in that 3 a.m. awareness, you're looking for proof that you're not alone, that someone else has been here, that someone else understands. Subscribe, not because it'll save you, not because it'll make the weight lighter, but because misery loves company, and truth loves witnesses. And out here in the void, We're all just wounded things looking for other wounded things who can admit what we really are.